Hello everyone, it is June the 17th, Sunday, 2012, and it is actually Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all of those fathers out there. And actually a part of me, I am doing laundry right now, so if you hear, I apologize if any gigantic buzzes go off in this. Part of me, I don't want to shit all over Father's Day. I don't. That's not my intention with this video. I promise. And part of me almost didn't really want to do it. But I think there's some people out there today who could benefit from my message that I am going to try to send out here. Because, you know, there are good fathers out there. You know, I mean, there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them. And this video is not for you. So you get away from the computer and you go spend time with your father and enjoy the day with him. But there are other people out there who don't have such a good relationship with their father as I do not. Let's see, the last time I saw him I was 16 or 15. Actually, I think I was 15 the last time I saw my father, and I am 32 years old now. And I am here to tell you that is one of the possibly the best decision I ever made in my entire life. And I am not lying on that, trust me. I've had some friends tell me that, you know, that's one of my buttons you can push, is to tell me that I don't know my own feelings. And I do. I totally believe that 100%, believe it, live it, every day. Leaving my father behind at age 15 was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life, if not the best decision I've ever made in my entire life, because he was never really there for me. I've had this conversation a lot with my friend Nick, who didn't have a great relationship with his father either. So, you know, this is a debate we get into a lot. But, you know, the only thing we've ever been able to come up with was, you know, Nick's father lived, you know, states and states away, and while I grew up, my father lived 10 minutes away from me my entire life, in the next town over, and he still didn't bother, didn't even try to have a relationship with me. And of course, years later, there were the excuses. There's always the excuses, and I've always debated with myself, what is the worst thing he had ever done to me? Because I can tell you, there's this one night, and actually it sounds like a scene from a movie, I realize, but it actually was my life. It's something that actually honestly happened to me, because from my bedroom window, as a small child, we lived by a river, and I don't know if we'd been somewhere, I don't know, but I came home and I saw that my father was over by the river fishing, because I saw his green Bronco over there by the river. And so I kept going from my bedroom window, I could see, you know, see where his car was parked. So I kept going back to my bedroom window, which is supposed to be my safe place, you know, it's my bedroom. And I kept waiting and waiting, because I just knew he was going to come, you know, he's going to come, hey, say hello and whatever. Well, and this is going to be weird, but I'm going to use the word lucky. I was lucky enough to catch him come up the bank from the river, pile his stuff and his friends and himself in his Bronco, and drive away without bothering to come over to say anything to me, without bothering to leave a note, nothing. So, you know, there is that. And then years later, my uncle, who I now call my uncle father, Mike, because we kind of, you know, when I was a teenager, we kind of got closer in our relationship to where, and I've told him, I mean, he's more like a father to me than, you know, than my own father ever was, you know, and, cause I mean, my uncle, he took me to the circus and bought me my first car, even though I never drove it. Sorry. I mean, he made the promise one night when he was drunk, and I told him, I'm like, you don't have to, but he's like, no, I made the promise, I'm going to keep it. So he ended up buying me a car, which, I mean, worked out because Mom ended up needing it. So, so my uncle kind of said, you know, try one last time. You got to try for yourself. And you know what? He was right. He was honestly right. He feels guilty about it now because, of course, it didn't work out great. But I needed that. I honestly needed that at 15 years old. He was like, well, try to get back in contact with your father one last time. So I did. And it didn't work out great. The day that, because there was some letter, when I was a kid, I wrote him a letter, and because basically I was a holiday kid. He came around on Christmas. I remember being up there for a Thanksgiving or two. I remember being up there for an Easter, because I remember looking for eggs in the front yard, but that was basically it. So I was basically a Christmas kid. That was about it. All the rest of the year, he basically ignored me, unless we called him. Because I remember there was one time my mom, she was going out of town for some reason, and she couldn't find me a babysitter, and she was like, "Do you want me to see if your father can watch you?" And of course, as a little kid, I was like, "Yeah, do it." And actually, I spent more time with his, I don't know if it was his girlfriend or his fiance or his wife at the time or whatever, because, he was off working or whatever. So I ended up spending more time with her and her son than him, but whatever. So I tried this one last time, and I did write that letter. I did, honestly, and I told him, I honestly can't remember what the letter said, I was a little kid. But here, however many years later, at 15 years old, one of the first things out of his mouth was, "Well, you're the one that wrote that letter." So, in effect, it was him blaming me for his being a shitty father. And my thought was, if you weren't a shitty father, I wouldn't have wrote the letter. Like, there's some truth to be said there, And I think that's what's important, because at that moment, right there, I remember very specifically, it's one of those life-altering moments or whatever they say. I remember in my head, as soon as he said that, I'm like, this is never going to work. And I think it's important to be honest with yourself if you don't have a good relationship with your father, because unfortunately, I feel a lot of people blame themselves when they're not to blame. You're not to blame. It's not your job. To make your parents be good parents. I guess this goes for, deadbeat moms too, because, it's not just fathers that abandon their kids, We learn that more and more every day, don't we? It's just like bad parents, bad parenting, like you're not necessarily to blame for your parents being bad parents. And you know what? I have stood by because of that's what I went through, and I love my mom, don't get me wrong, but my father, honestly, he did a lot to mold the kind of person that I am. There you go. Because don't worry, there'll be like a million more of those by the time we're done. Because I knew what it felt like, because of what he put me through. I knew what it felt like to be treated like that, and I didn't want to treat anybody else like that. Because it felt terrible. It honestly did. So, while I love my mom, and, she was there all the time, and I do love her, I can't ignore the fact that, my father did quite a bit of molding the person that I am today, but because of that, because of what I went through, I have this very stout, belief that either you treat me the way that I deserve to be treated, or you get out. I don't have time for you. I don't waste my life with you. And that doesn't matter if it's just a person that I happen to meet, at school, somebody that becomes my friend, or somebody that pretends to be my friend, whatever, or if it's family. It doesn't matter. People are still people, whether they're blood or not. And it's like, treat me with the respect I deserve to be treated, or I'm done with you. I would like to see a lot more people become that way, and and live that way, because it's really, honestly, it is one of the most freeing things to just have that off of your shoulders. And I don't think I ever really blamed myself for my parents' divorce or anything, because I know there's a lot of people out there like that too. And there again, you're just a child. They're the adults. They should be the ones that step up and, I guess some people don't make it work, and can't, and never should have been together in the first place. But there again, that's not your fault. It's not. whether they, I mean, hopefully they don't blatantly tell you to your face, it's your fault. That would be fucking ridiculous. Because it's just like, you know what, if a child is going to tear two people apart, they should not have been together in the first place. Honestly. So, well, I'm going to plug myself in here because it is flashing at me. It's... You deserve respect. You deserve respect. Whether, like I said, whether... It doesn't matter if it's blood or not. Blood don't buy you shit with me. You've still gotta, treat me the way I deserve to be treated. And that definitely was not the way that I deserved to be treated. And it was not my fault for the way that I was getting treated. I never would have wrote a letter to a shitty father if he wasn't being a shitty father. Them's the rules. That's the logic. That is the way that it works. So don't, if you have a bad relationship with your father or your mother, your parent, whatever, don't let them put it on you. And more importantly, don't put it on yourself. Don't do that. Think about it logically. Because when my father told me to my face that it was my fault that he wasn't around, I could have just believed that. I could have just fell into that trap and been stupid for the rest of my life and been like, oh, it really was my fault. I did write that letter. But no. If he wasn't doing what he was doing, it's cause and effect, So please think about it logically. And I mean, if it's toxic, cut them out if you have to be done with them. Especially if there's somebody that's not around all the time, or whatever. And look at something logically. If it's hurting you, it's like, I've had this conversation with a friend before, because he was talking about, your father being around and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, you sound, because this friend had something the next day, and he was mentioning it to his dad, and he was like, oh, Dad, I have this thing tomorrow, and blah, 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 and his father blew him off once again. And, this person tried to start this conversation with me, and I'm like, well, it sounds like you want your father to show up to whatever that thing is tomorrow, but sure doesn't sound like he's going to be there. And of course, this person went on to be like, well, I understand, he's busy and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, how many times is he busy? Is it every time you ask him to do something? Is he busy every time? And he wanted to say that he had a relationship with his father because we were sitting in his house having this conversation. I'm like, where is he? He's upstairs asleep, and, we're the ones, it's us down here discussing, how much time did you spend with him today? How much time have you spent with him at all recently? So it's just like, I mean, if that's good enough for you, I guess, if that's what you need to feel okay with yourself, I guess, do it, because you deserve to feel okay about yourself. But if you feel that relationship isn't up to snuff for you, don't accept it. Do not accept it, because, you don't owe them anything just because you came out of them. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, they did bring you into this world, yes, but once you're raised and whatever, you are your own person, and you get to make your own way in this life, and you get to make your own decisions about how you allow people to treat you. And you shouldn't allow people to mistreat you, treat you incorrectly, treat you badly, there's somebody out there that will love and care and respect you. There really is. And I mean, I'm not a big component of, or, I'm not a church-going person, but there are a lot of people in that building that will love you and take care of you and respect you. And, if that's what you need to be okay with yourself as a person, do it. Go somewhere where you will be loved and respected and cared for, because you might not know any of these people, but that doesn't mean that they don't love you or care about you or respect you as a person, you know? So if you have a relationship with your father or your mother or just anybody in general, really, you know, but especially I understand on this day, there's probably a lot of people, you know, today and Mother's Day that are a little disappointed or a little bit, you know, depressed. Ask yourself, do you deserve to feel that way? And logically think about the way that you've been treated by this person that you're so depressed over, you know, because the only person that can make you better is you. And you just have to be willing to step up and do that for yourself. Because I did over half of my life ago. And like I said, I could not be happier for that. I have people around me. You know, I have my mother. I have Nick. I have Mark. I have my sisters. I have my sister and I have my nieces. That makes more sense. You know, I have my Uncle Mike. I have my Aunt Laura. I have people around me that, you know, care about me, love me, respect me. You know, those are the people that you should spend your effort on, you know? Those are the people that you should dispense any sort of energy and, you know, any of yourself on at all. The people who mutually, you know, love and respect you back. You know, I mean, the words might not be said, but sometimes actions do speak louder than words, you know? So hopefully, you know, if there's someone you feel does not deserve, is not treating you the way that you deserve to be treated, and honestly, logically think about how you deserve to be treated, you know, because some people just get so self-loathing over the way someone else has treated them and caused them to feel, and it's not their fault whatsoever. If you're that person, I'm telling you, it's not your fault whatsoever. So think about it logically. Step outside of yourself. Write it down if you have to. Because that day that my father showed up, the only positive, because I did the pros and cons list. The only pro he got that day was that he showed up. He showed up 15 minutes late, or so, you know, 10, 15 minutes late. So it's like your son, who is trying to reconnect with you after how many years, you know, is making yet another effort, and you can't even be respectful enough to be on time, you know, much less early. You know, it's just, you know, there's only so much you should allow yourself to be slighted. You know, it's just like, allow for maybe some, but if it's a pattern, and it's a bad pattern, and it's making you not feel very great about yourself, then maybe you should take another look at said pattern and whether you deserve to allow to have it happen to you. And if you don't allow it to have it, if you don't deserve to have it be allowed to happen to you, stop allowing it to happen to you. And trust me, like, this day, you know, next year, or whatever day it is that you're not comfortable with, it will feel so much better to you, and it only gets better from there. So, you know, I hope, you know, some people, if they come across this video, are able to make that change within themselves. Because, like I said, I did, and I feel amazing, and I have for, like, you know, over 15 years now. 15, 16, 17. I'm not very good at math, but, you know, to do it right off the top of my head. But trust me. I mean, send me an email if you have to, you know, leave me a private message, leave a comment, whatever, and, you know, let me know what's going on with you, and I will be glad to help and glad to be a listening ear. So, I mean, like I said, there are people that love and respect and care for you out there, and I will be that person if you need me to be. So, you just let me know.